morning and welcome to the Senior Hour, which is sponsored by Comfort Keepers in Home Care and Advanced Audiology. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host,
Dr. Jean Doria,
on your hometown station, KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And of course, speaking of quality of life, we have our own very, very, very own Alex Urbina, who's going to teach us a little about life and living.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yes, it's wonderful. And how are you, Dr. Jean?
Oh, I'm just fine. You know, it's flu season. The hospital is packed and sure keeps you busy. You know, people are sick and our seniors are getting impacted by this. And, you know, this probably we will not break out of this for another month or so. So, yeah, so we just have to hope we don't get it, one. And secondly, for our listeners, they don't get it either because you don't need to be sick. People get the flu, but, you know, this just the flu shot just did not seem to help this year. So, yeah, our seniors are being affected. Our kids are being affected. You know, everybody is having problems right now. Barbie, you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, good.
Physically, I'm okay. Psychologically, I may be a little bit ruffled, but other than that, I'm
but that's
fine.
what Alex is here for. We're going to try to unruffle you. We can work on that. Here's the psychiatrist seat right here. Lie down. That's your usual laugh.
No, I had a good night's sleep, thank goodness. Had a very hectic day yesterday. Russ took another fall, and I had to call the paramedics out to initially bandage him and took him over to urgent care. We were there for 3 hours, and they did a great job of bandaging him up. But what happens is his skin is so thin, he can just bump it, and the skin lifts. And that's what happened in 4 different areas on one hand, on one arm. But it's amazing. I was watching them in urgent care. They have a liquid that it's a liquid skin.
It's a glue.
It's a glue. And I couldn't believe what she was doing to the wounds, because there were great big ones, chunks of flesh, but pulling it together and then dripping this oil on it, or glue, or whatever it is.
Elmer's.
And it's amazing, absolutely amazing how far bandage care has come.
Yeah, and you know, the thing though is with all our seniors that the nemesis for them is falling. You know, they fall and, you know, they run into problems. And, you know, Alex, a lot of our seniors not only fall physically, but they fall mentally, don't they?
Absolutely. I was just coming off of a very powerful parent training weekend that I did here in Santa Clarita.
That's right.
And I was talking to some of the parents this weekend, and I was talking about how the world keeps evolving. The world keeps advancing. The world keeps growing. And if you as a human being stop growing, the world will pass you up.
Absolutely.
And you can very easily find yourself in your 70s or in your 80s feeling left behind. And so it's imperative for us as human beings to always be trying new things and getting out of our comfort zone and pushing ourselves to grow mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. We have to keep pushing ourselves, because if not, you will find yourself lost and confused because you don't understand the new language. You don't understand the new technology. I have a mother-in-law at home who struggles every day to try to be part of our conversations in the home around the dinner table. And a lot of times I'll ask her, like, do you understand what we're saying? And she looks confused a lot of times. She says, no, you guys talk too fast. And some of the words you guys use, I don't understand what you guys are saying. And so it's heartbreaking to watch people that, you know, this woman who, as I was a kid, I looked up to and admired, and she was a go-getter and she was a leader, you know, in her family and in her job. And then slowly, a little bit at a time, she stopped developing, stopped growing, and slowly just either shut down or checked out or tuned out. And it really breaks my heart to see anyone decide that they're just not going to keep learning and growing and find themselves lost towards the later end of their lives.
So
See,
when you go ahead.
I don't understand how someone can get to that point.
Well, I think a little bit at a time, our fear gets in the way, and we slowly stop learning, growing, and discovering more about ourselves, about relationships, about people, about life. And what happens is the world just it advances, and we got these new breeds of kids that are coming up in the world very in tune with technology, and it's very easy to kind of slip behind. And I remember specifically a story when my dad in the early 90s came to me one day and finally said, "Hey, will you teach me how to use the computer?" And he had been resisting it for about 2 or 3 years, and it was so inspiring to see that the look on his face. He looked like a 4-year-old boy who was really scared. And here I am, this young 20-year-old man, excited for him. And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll show you." And I sat down and I showed him how to get on a browser, look up his hometown, and he was able to look at the newspaper of his hometown, and it brought a smile to his face. And I really was inspired by his courage to be willing to say, "Hey, it might be foreign to me, or smartphones might be scary, but I'm going to try it." And I think as long as you're trying new things, you're growing. When you allow your fear to take over you, you just shut down, and you give in to the way that the world is growing towards.
And I've always said, when you come on the show, I say, with my 96-year-old mother, she and my father had the attitude, life is an adventure. So that she's always, her attitude, that's where she goes with the thought. And one day, she doesn't travel well anymore, but one day I got on the computer with her, and it was one of these map things, and I said, where does this look like to you? And we come from New York, and she looked at it, and she looked with a stare and then a grin and then a smile, and she says, "That's where you grew up."
She recognized
it.
That's awesome.
But you can travel along the roads, and she says and we lived in Harlem, and she said that's where that building, that's where we lived. Was your home. And then I took her across the East River on the bridge that used to rotate back and forth, and the peach market was across the river, was not there anymore. She said, "The peach market's gone." And I said, "Indeed it is. They probably make jam there now." But this is what her thought was. This is great. And that was another adventure. But the bad part was she turned to me and said, "Let's go there." I said, "Well, okay."
You created a monster.
A little bit. But, the fear, though, you're right. I mean, seniors, they worry about what they're seeing, the technology that's out there, and they don't want to take that extra step. But, I think that one of the ways we can alleviate some of the fear is, allowing them to look at the options. I saw a new patient yesterday from Arizona, and she just moved here to be with her family. Her husband passed away in November, so she had the loss of her husband, the moving. She was not driving anymore, so she had lost a whole lot of the quality of life things that she would do. But she was telling me about some of the hobbies and things that she said, I'm an artist, I paint. And I said, "Let me see some of those." And I looked and I said, "Wow, these are really good." And I said, "We have an art class at the senior center." "Oh, where's the senior center?" "Oh, it's about 8 miles from here." And so now she's going to go to the senior center because there's art there. She plays the piano, so she's going to go to the lunchtime music that they have there. And I gave her options, to alleviate her fears and to look at what she can possibly do down the line in the future.
Now, that's awesome if you have people that are really aware, like you are, around them to ask them questions and re-spark a passion inside of them again, or bring up a topic that they're excited about or they remember or they were part of. That's awesome if you have people around you that can ignite that kind of excitement. If you don't have people around you that can be that vehicle for you or that tool or if you have sons and daughters that are really focused on their own life or their own worries, you have to figure out how to get your own self out of your own hole. You have to learn or figure out how to unstick yourself. And the way that you do that is you got to go down deep and find a level of courage that most of us, have never tapped into, and be courageous, be brave, be bold, and say to yourself, ask someone, hey, where would a guy like me in my 80s or 90s go and plug into back to society? Or you just got to be, you have to have the audacity to figure out how to get out of your little cave where you're hiding out and decide that you want to start living again. You have to decide that the world is not as scary as I might think it is. And with a few courageous challenges and steps, I might just discover a whole new world that is out there, or realize that I made up this scary story about the world that's not true.
Senior center.
Yeah,
That's right off the bat.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
A great start to plug back in.
It's a resource that we have here in Santa Clarita. I remember going one day to our senior center, and the county has a board who oversees senior centers, and there are at least 52, I think, in Los Angeles County alone. And they came up and they came to Santa Clarita because they wanted to get input from the seniors on running senior centers and things like that. And the paperwork they gave us showed that of all the senior centers, and they had check boxes of the activities, our Santa Clarita had more activities than any other senior center. And I stood up and I said to myself, I thank you for coming today, but you're asking us, you should listen to us. You should listen to what we are doing here so you can take that back to your council and, bring the spirit up at other senior centers in Southern California. I don't know if they heard me. I don't know if they listened, but our senior center,
They may have listened, but they didn't hear. That has been going on for years, Gene. Absolute years.
Yep.
The county has no idea what we do out here.
Yep.
None at all.
Yep.
Because we are so far superior as far as the senior centers go in this very, very large
in
area.
LA County. All of LA County.
Our senior center is unbelievably top quality,
So
and
it-
has been for many, many years. And I think everyone involved with it from the very beginning, including my husband and I, have always made sure that the people who have been involved want to push it forward and want to improve it. And that's what's happened. That's happened over all these years.
But here's the issue that I see. You can have one of the best centers in the country with all the most amazing tools and games and fun activities. But if you don't have a group of people courageous enough to see the value and be willing to go there and utilize those, what's the point? If you got really like a low attendance, I mean, at a certain point, someone's going to go, wait a minute, we have all these great stuff, but we don't have enough people in the community that see the value or are courageous enough to come and try us out. I would love to have a discussion just, between us three to talk about what keeps most seniors from even going to a place like that. And I want to, open up some possibilities. And the first thing I think of is that as a human being, we could very easily collect evidence in our own mind that we don't like people, or we create our own fears surrounding relationships, or even conversations. And so if you have some of those fears and some of those insecurities, as you get to the later end of your life, those insecurities become bigger and more pronounced. And then we can very easily decide, I don't like people, I don't like talking to nobody, and we just kind of become someone that just likes to exclude themselves. And
More like a robot.
Yeah. So what we do is we just slowly shut down, and we kind of slowly exit out of society, and we hide out in our rooms, and watch TVs or binge watch and just kind of exclude ourselves from society. It kind of reminds me of like a teenager that sits in their room and just plays video games all day long. Like literally, like I can see some seniors like reverting back to being that teenager that doesn't want to get out there and find some friends and make new friends and
They're
talk.
in their safety
Yeah.
zone.
They could
That's
sit there
right.
on their phone and just sit there and check out in technology rather than remembering what it was like when they grew up without technology, when they didn't have the phone or the games, or some of them didn't have the TVs yet.
That's right.
And when they were forced to go outside and play with the neighborhood kids, right? Your parents were like, get out of the house, go out there and toss some rocks around, or go chat with your friends out in the neighborhood.
I can remember that. I can remember when my parents didn't have a television.
That's right.
And how excited we were. My brother and I, we were the first on the block to get this black and white television. Oh my goodness.
With the antenna.
Yes, that's
you had to turn the
exactly
antenna?
right. That's exactly right. But I was so used to listening to the radio show.
Yeah,
I'd
the
listen
radio.
to the
That was
radio.
big time.
And, you'd listen to the Lone Ranger and all kinds of programs like that. But there, you're using your imagination, too. When you're
Yeah.
hearing something rather
That's it.
than watching it, that spurs your mind into, oh, I wonder what it's like there. Or see this horse galloping after the other one, and people, banging each other, and visually imagining that. But now you see it and you get stuck.
Yeah.
And that was a new time for you, to give you a glimpse of what a bigger world looked like, other than the 4 blocks around your little town.
That's true.
But now we're at a point where we've been exposed to so much of the world that we can actually get lost in it and forget that our real world is in our living room. It's with deep conversations with my mom, with my kids, with my sisters, with the neighbors. And connecting and communicating now seems to be a lost art.
Absolutely.
Now what we're doing is we're residing and we're hiding out in technology. And I hate to say it, but I think that the seniors are doing it as well.
Yes.
And they know the value. If anyone out of all the generations, the baby boomers, they know what it's like to have the value of sitting down in front of someone and having a powerful conversations over a game of checkers or a cup of coffee.
Yep.
And instead of us as a generation that's been here before, instead of us teaching the younger generation how valuable that is, we're kind of residing to that ourselves, and we're getting lost in technology.
So you asked the question, what keeps people from coming to the senior center, and getting lost in technology is certainly one of the ways, especially with the younger generation. A lot of the older generation, some of them are not even in technology.
Well, they are. It's just not the newer technology.
They're in their old technology. But I wrote down a few things that to just try to clarify, why some seniors don't come. They physically can't come because they're disabled, they're not mobile, they don't drive anymore. So, that's part of it. And some of it is the cost of it. They just feel that there's going to be some, they have to pay for their lunch, or they have to pay for a class and things like that, and they can't afford it. So those are those things. But the other side of the coin is what you were talking about. It's the psychological side.
Yeah, well, the ones that
barrier-
don't
barriers.
have those two limitations.
Yes.
What about that
Those-
whole bag of probably a couple thousand that can find reasons to be there, but instead they find the reasons why they shouldn't be there.
Right, and that's the psychological part of this. It's the fear that you had mentioned, the depression that people get. It's some of them just aren't really social. Some of them just don't like people, and that's just the way they've always been.
Right.
But there's a huge group that are listening right now, and they love the radio because this is where we're coming from. They love this technology. They've been there before. But they're apprehensive because they don't realize what the options are. And what we're saying here on this show is come over, be adventurous, try to discover, see if there's something there that might catch your interest. And I can guarantee those who are listening, once they get to the senior center, they will find something. It's very rare that they find nothing there that can help them through life. So it's the adventure, it's, the physical part, it's the mental part, and it's, sometimes, they're stuck and they're going down into their hole and they just can't get up.
Well, I know a lot of people that have just a negative outlook on life, that they can go to the senior center and look at 20 or 30 different options that are created for them, and they can look through the whole list and just go, nope.
That's
Nope.
not for me.
Yeah, and they can just justify in their mind that that's
yeah.
not for me and I don't like this. And so it really has to do with your frame of mind and your outlook and
attitude.
It all comes
adventure.
into play of even you taking having the courage to go down and just checking it out for yourself for the very first time. Give yourself a chance is what I'm trying to say. Don't decide before you even go and take a look that it's not for you. Give yourself at least give yourself a fighting chance to say, maybe there is something there for me and let me at least look, instead of deciding blindly from the darkness of my couch that it's not for me.
And then there are caregivers, the sandwich generation, the children of these seniors who are listening to us as well, and they're going, "Oh, I'll never get them there." Well, guess what? The lady who moved from Arizona, who I talked with for the first time yesterday, her daughter will be taking her and by the hand and will bring her to the senior center. And it's interesting because when we talked about Lyft and Uber and things like that, she does have a smartphone, and I was a little bit shocked, but she has a smartphone, and in the smartphone was the app for Uber. And I thought already she is taking one little step forward, and with her daughter, her caregiver, taking her to the senior center, that might, diminish the apprehension and the fear and saying this isn't good and that's not good, and maybe lead her in a different direction of life.
Sounds good.
I think we need to take a break, don't we? We're speaking with Alex Urbina, a life coach. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS.
Santa Clarita Philharmonic has begun its season of free concerts. The SCP is a non-profit community-based volunteer symphony orchestra comprised of local musicians from throughout the Santa Clarita Valley who are dedicated to providing quality classical music for the residents of the Santa Clarita Valley. Like the Santa Clarita Philharmonic on Facebook or visit santaclaritaphilharmonic.org for more information.
We know you've made some New Year's resolutions, and so did the Church on the Way Santa Clarita. The Church on the Way Santa Clarita is celebrating 10 years as a church, and they resolve to make the next decade even greater by continuing to love God, serve people, and change lives. Join them on Sundays at 8:30, 10, and 11:30 a.m., where there's something available for everyone. They can't wait to meet you. For more information about what's upcoming at the Church on the Way Santa Clarita in 2018, visit tcotwsc.org.
Aloha, friends! We invite you to come by Honu Coffee, home of the best cold brewed coffee. What makes our coffee special is how our organic coffee beans are infused with nitrogen to create a smooth and delicious cup of coffee. You'll also find traditional bold coffees and island-inspired signature drinks. We're the perfect place to catch up with friends or just relax with your favorite cup of joe. Honu Coffee on Lyons Avenue and Walnut in Newhall. Stop by and say aloha!
Drug and alcohol use can lead to troubles at school or work, relationship problems, financial or legal difficulties, medical and psychiatric issues. I'm Bob Sheritz, the host of the Way Out Recovery Hour, airing every Monday at noon. The Way Out Recovery Hour features prominent guests and organizations discussing the epidemic of drugs and alcohol in our valley. Don't miss the Way Out Recovery Hour every Monday at noon. Don't lose hope. There is a solution. Knowledge is power. There is the way out.
The Santa Clarita Artists Association has a new gallery in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Main and Railroad, right across from the Canyon Theater Guild. The gallery features our members' paintings, sculptures, and one-of-a-kind handcrafted gift items. Whether you're an art lover, buyer, or an artist wishing to join, visit our website at santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming events and exhibits, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
Santa Clarita's hometown station, KHTS.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Center. The Senior Center. The Senior Hour on your hometown station. KHTS. I'm really flustered here about the Senior Center, obviously, because we're having an adventure. So it's been our mind and our top with our guest, Alex Urbina, because, seniors, when you're younger and middle age, you got the psychological edge. Things are just popping in life and you're moving forward. But as you get older, the frailties of life start to hit you. And, we were talking about the Senior Center, and this is a part of our lives. As we move forward, we have to look at and say, maybe there are options there. But when they get in that hole, Alex, when they're down deep, they might not even be listening to our show. What do they do then? How do they handle life? How do they keep from being depressed or sad?
They don't.
And they go into that.
They
don't.
They are in survival mode, and the human spirit has such a powerful strive to continue to kind of grind it out, so to speak. And so that's what they do is they're suffering quietly, they're grinding it out, and they're just going day by day, slowly waiting to transition off into the next life or, pass on. And they just give up.
Commit suicide.
They can do that as well. Depends on
the article that you wrote this week.
Mm-hmm. That's
seniors and suicide.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy, people, and you're bringing that up, and
But it's a very real possibility.
Absolutely, it's happening in real life.
Absolutely,
when you get so depressed, some of us, we have that grit to survive and to grind it out, but everyone has a breaking point, and that could very well hit you at any given moment where you just decide, I can't take the suffering and the pain anymore. Yeah. I can't take the depression, being alone, and so that does happen. But that's why the work that I do is to wake people up, to remind them that there's more learning, discovering, and growing still available for yourself
at any
age, all day long, every day, week by week, month by month, year by year. Because, like I said when we started the show, the world is evolving. It's going to outgrow you if you don't stay in pace with it. And I know this myself because as fast as I'm growing and as courageous as I'm taking on my own personal challenges, I try to stay ahead of the game. And I have my own young 20-year-old daughters that look at me and they'll tell me, Dad, when you do that, it's corny or it's weird or you look like a geek, And so I start laughing, but it's with a little feedback like that from my kids, it reminds me that, man, the world is really evolving really fast. There's new words that are being used, and there's little things that you can fall behind if you're not keeping up with what's happening in the world.
Exactly
but
right.
Do you have to really? Do we have to follow all of this? I mean, I like the technology.
You don't necessarily have to follow it. It's not about following it.
Mm-hmm.
The point I'm trying to make is you really have to be present. You have to practice being present in the moment, and you have to be practicing being self-aware, and you have to understanding yourself.
Yes, that's right.
So that you master you. That's all we're talking about here. I hope you don't feel that I'm telling you that you got to be in tune with technology and the Kardashians and all this stuff that's happening that can actually have you not be focusing on you. What I'm talking about is personal growth. You have to be committed to working on yourself interpersonally, because if not, things start happening, and in relationships, you can very easily have broken relationships with your sons, with your daughters, with your spouses, and you can slowly not know how to interact with people in a healthy way.
Right.
And then we have interpersonal insecurities that get in the way of us really creating powerful, extraordinary relationships, like being stubborn, being right. Some of us in our older ages, we are so stubborn and so fixated on being right that we have broken relationships with our sons, with our daughters, because we are unwilling to forgive, or we're unwilling to look at ourselves and say, hey, I'm sorry, or please forgive me. No one has taught us how to mend relationships, and so therefore we're struggling.
And you're locking yourself into a cage
Yep.
that's going to be very hard to get out of.
And that cage we'll call that cage, we'll label it alone.
That's right.
You can literally push people away, turn people off, do things to people that if you don't learn how to make amends or say I'm sorry or be humble, and you can really find yourself in this cage where you're alone and no one wants to spend time with you, and people are finding reasons to not come visit you, and all you keep doing is making yourself go into that dark hole by yourself. And you just keep pushing people away, and it's not healthy.
Some of our listeners right now are thinking, that's me. And they're okay with it because they're stubborn.
That's right.
That's right. That's just who they are. But,
But it's not who they are. It's who they keep choosing to be
absolutely.
every moment of the day.
And it's not going to change.
It can change.
Yeah, that's the question, though.
It can
For
change.
some of them, when they're at Thanksgiving and they're being called a geek or corny or weird and stuff, they sit back and they go, but I'm not that way. I'm just the same human being I was when I was 20 years old. I'm just just in a different way now. Yeah, so we can get them to change, but I think also we have to sometimes accept them for who they are and try to find ways to figure out how we can implore them and move them forward in some way. And I think the way to do that
and I agree with you on our end meaning the people that are in relationships with those stubborn, being right people that are going to take it to their grave. We can learn how to accept them for who they are and decide not to take it personal.
Right.
That's
there you
very
go. That's
true.
a big thing.
Then it frees us up to be able to be in relationship and love them anyway.
Yeah.
That's right.
However,
Accept them.
however, this is why we can't accept them and we can't operate from that place. The reason why is because some of us have our own insecurities that we haven't worked past in ourselves to be able to get to that point. And so as long as we keep avoiding doing that interpersonal work at a higher level, it keeps us from evolving to that platform called, you know what, Dad? I accept you for being like that. And every time you get angry at me or you yell at me or you point fingers at me or tell me what a bad son I've been, then I can honor that that's how you feel, and I can separate that from my own self-worth. You know why, Dad? Because I know who I am. I know I'm a loving, caring, compassionate human being, and so I'm not in need of your approval. And so as long as I've done that work on myself and healed myself, I can be around my dad, and he can still be, angry and bitter and throwing daggers at me, and I could just move out of the way and not let him hit me.
In his own cage. That's in his own reality.
That's right.
There.
That's right.
And
so if I'm worked on myself and I'm centered and I'm grounded and I'm confident and sure of who I am, I can see him in his own dysfunction and I can separate myself from that. But when I'm not, when I haven't healed and I haven't done that personal work to a higher level, I take all those things personal.
That's right.
And it hurts my feelings. And now my dad has upset me to the point where I don't even want to be around him anymore. So that's the crux of what's going on is if we can get ourselves interpersonally to grow to a certain level, then we can tolerate, my mom or my dad saying things about me, and we could chuckle and laugh. And just the same way that my kids call me weird and dorky, I can chuckle and laugh and not take it personal, right? It's their opinion.
Yeah.
And if I know who I am and I'm centered and grounded, it doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can come back to him or her, which really starts to pull them out of that cage in very minor ways because they're beginning to interact.
That's right.
And so you're widening the sides of that cage, thinking, okay, maybe if I keep doing this, he'll come out of that cage or she'll come out of that cage.
If you're healthy enough to be able to get in the cage
Yes.
with them and push the walls out so that you make the cage bigger. Some of us aren't healthy enough, and so we just don't have the capacity
Healthy mentally.
mentally and emotionally to be able to get
Mentally,
in there,
emotionally.
and spiritually. We're
Right.
not healthy enough to get in there and stretch that cage out with him or her, to be patient, to not take things personal, to be compassionate for them, to understand where they're coming from.
Right.
We haven't developed those distinctions at a higher level, so what happens is we get frustrated. We take things personal. We get our feelings hurt, and then we just decide, I don't want nothing to do with you, or I'm just going to check in with you every once in a while, but I can't spend a lunch with you. I can't spend a day with you because more than 2 hours, Mom, Dad, you start doing these opinions, and I don't know how to separate myself from that. So then I get offended, and now I want to take you back home, toss you off the car, and then I don't want to leave, and I don't want to visit you for another month or two.
That's right.
So we all have
That's
this. We all have this tolerance for other people, and in their emotional dysfunction, they now start to lash back, and we see it as abuse, rather than being compassionate and saying, "Oh man, my mom or dad is really hurt, and they're a lost, broken little girl or boy that has never healed themselves." And we don't know how to justify that, and so therefore we keep taking it personal and then getting upset and not wanting to spend time with them, which is sad to me.
Well, my patients, there some of them, and we know, just don't want to leave home, and that in itself is the first big challenge to get them out of the house. And I found a long time ago that my patients, we give them a walker. A versatile walker that doesn't have tennis balls on the front. We give them a wheelchair, maybe.
That's kind of mean, isn't it?
The tennis balls. Well,
I think it
to give them a walker with no tennis balls on the front.
Oh, if they did, yeah. But we've moved forward with that because I hate to say this, but some of our patients did not want to get a walker because it had tennis balls on it.
Really?
They were insulted. Yes.
Wow.
So, this is not like a thing that they wanted. But, as now the technology has lightweight walkers and lightweight wheelchairs. So the place to start is when, our caregivers who are listening, they need to get the person out of the house. And they're wondering, how do I get this person out of the house? And the first thing you do is you give them mobility. Because they don't have that.
Give
so
them
you
a
give
walker
them,
that rolls.
and then you have to be able to find a way to get a wheelchair or walker into your vehicle if you're going to take them to the mall, for instance, or to a movie or out to eat. That's the start point.
Yeah.
And once you can get them out the front door, you've had your first success.
Yeah, because you've exposed them to a new experience other than the four dark walls that they stare at every single day. They can get outside and watch a hummingbird. Sit there and really work a flower, or they can go out and watch, a squirrel run by, or a car, even cars passing. But expose them one little bit at a time to the rest of the world, and before you know it, they might be asking you, "Hey, can we go out today?" Right? And before you know it, you've now tricked them into wanting to go out and explore life in the world a little bit more.
And my mom comes over and says, "Can you show me New York again?" This is what she saw the screen, and I took her on that virtual trip through her old community, and she was great. She says, "Let's go across the street and show me the park that I used to take you to." This is what her new adventure was.
But what a great testimony to what an amazing son you are, that you are engaged with her and you are inviting her to look at stuff, and you're fanning that flame of excitement for her. And not a lot of people are blessed with people like that can do that. But I'm glad we're talking about it, because there are a lot of sons and daughters that can be that can stop their busy life and go, you know what, let me spend some time with Mom today and ask her questions. Like a lot of times I'll tell people in my trainings about some of the interaction I have with my mother-in-law, and I will tell them that Sometimes she'll come out, she'll sit down at the table, and I'm sitting there, and I will ask her the same questions I've asked her the last couple of years of her coming out, for her to tell me the same stories that I've already heard, just to see her face light up.
Uh-huh.
And she will tell me those stories like it's the very first time I've asked
That's
her.
exactly
But what
right.
joy to see her light up again. Because the last 48 hours, I've just saw her sitting in a room staring at the corner of the wall. So if I can give my mother-in-law a little bit of joy and excitement, and it only takes a half hour or 20 minutes while I'm eating my sandwich there at the table, why not? But I would love to encourage more sons and daughters to carve out a little bit of extra time just to spend with them, but quality time.
Right.
Time that you're actually sitting there asking open-ended questions, and from an authentic place, be interested. Even though they've told you the story 1,000 times, act like you're hearing it for the very first time, and you'll give your mom and dad a beautiful gift, especially in a time where they think that they're not part of the family.
Right.
They're looking for excuses to say, see, no one cares. So what a gift you can give them if you include them a little bit more.
And everything I do as a son for my mom in her life now has been learned by me from my patients and their families, their caregivers, their children. So I'm sharing something, I saw them do this, and I said to myself, with my mom, when she gets older, and now she's older, I'm going to be doing it. And now also on this show, we're passing that on so our community knows that when they're older, they're taking care of parents and they're being taken care of, they'll want to be doing things that make their life better and round that life out for them. So this community has taught me all of this. And it wasn't that, I read lots of books on it, of course. I watched shows on it. I've talked to other doctors and caregivers as well. But it's been that learning curve that has brought me to where I can be a better son.
Yeah.
And by, in medicine, you see one, you do one, then you teach one. That's what I've done to be a better son.
Yeah, I think in your profession, your heart breaks to see some of your patients just sitting there, and you're like, I don't want my mom to experience that.
Oh, absolutely.
So it lights a fire inside of you, right?
Oh, yeah.
The thing is, too, Gene, in your profession, you are a home visit doctor. You don't have the patients come to you.
That's a great point.
In this sterile room and just talk for 10 minutes and that's it. You go to the home.
You actually
spend
walk in
an
the house.
hour. Absolutely.
And you get a glimpse of what their whole last 5-7 years has looked like.
That is the biggest difference.
That's right.
Because
it's
when I
huge.
lived in England before I came to the States, I had whooping cough. The doctor came to the house. That's what doctors do.
Dr. Lobo.
Dr. Lobo, exactly. He was
thought-
an Indian.
I thought whooping cough was for dogs, like kennel cough. Or
No.
No, okay.
This
She
was
had whooping
before
cough.
they had all of these vaccines.
Oh,
I was
okay.
10 and a half years old, and I was in England at the time. But they didn't have anything like that. So we all got chicken pox, measles,
Whooping cough.
you name it, all
Wow.
of the childhood diseases that kids don't get anymore because of the vaccines.
Right.
But I think a lot of that opens up your life a bit to feel, especially in my case, that doctor taking time out of his day to come and visit me. It made a big difference, and I'll never forget it, obviously, as long as I live. And I think we need to take a break, don't we? Yes, I see Eagle Eye over there. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS.
Why do people from all over Santa Clarita come to our spa in Canyon Country? Simple. They want the highest quality services at prices that everyone can afford. This is Rosemary from Beyond Harmony Med Spa. Read our reviews and know why we won the Ultimate Beauty Awards 2 years in a row by the readers of Elite magazine. Come and see how close we really are and experience the level of excellence that our clients have loved for the past 13 years. Go to beyondharmony.com or call 298-8008 today for a free consultation.
It's no wonder people love Baskin-Robbins, as it's known for its 31 flavors of ice cream. From ages 1 to 99, people visit Baskin-Robbins anticipating the pleasure of enjoying their favorite ice cream, served any way they want. They also create customized cakes for any occasion. With several locations in Santa Clarita, you're sure to find America's favorite neighborhood ice cream shop near you. Visit them in Steventon Ranch on the Old Road, on Soledad in Canyon Country, or on Lyons in Newhall.
The Santa Clarita Artists Association has a new gallery in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Main and Railroad, right across from the Canyon Theater Guild. The gallery features our members' paintings, sculptures, and one-of-a-kind handcrafted gift items. Whether you're an art lover, buyer, or an artist wishing to join, visit our website at santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming events and exhibits, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
KHTS.
Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS. And we're speaking with Alex Urbina, who is a life coach by profession. And my goodness, we've really talked about life today, haven't we?
We did. I think we really stirred it up.
All aspects, from being in a cage
or a hole, being called a geek.
Yes, and to being out in a monstrous field, interacting with everybody. Yeah. It's good to be alive.
It is good to be alive, especially really when you know that there are a lot of people that are struggling and suffering and are in pain. It really helps you get clarity on being grateful for what we have, which is healthy in all areas, you know, mind, body, and spirit, and really just, you know, thanking our stars, our lucky stars, that you know, that there are other people out there that are suffering really bad.
Yeah, and then I think, you know, as humanitarians, we're able to recognize that, and we're also understand what things we can do to provide options for our seniors who are living here in Santa Clarita. Not only our seniors, but their caregivers around them. Sometimes their spouses, sometimes their kids, but allows them to understand that there are people who are there wanting to try to move them forward and keep them going, but you have to help to stand up and take that first step.
Yeah.
And we're here to motivate you along. And you know, one day we'll be able to maybe dangle $1 bill or $100 bill in front of you and say, hey, you get up and you come over to our senior center, you get $100. Well, that's not going to work right now. But we, you know, trying to find that motivation for that personal motivation that will get people going is the key and what we've been talking about on this show today.
Yeah, and I don't know why, but in my 20 plus years of working in human development, I've come to the conclusion that as human beings, we really struggle with asking for help.
Absolutely.
Before we struggle with asking for help, a lot of us struggle with even being willing or open to the possibility that we even need help.
Yeah. Right.
So we have two distinctions that really get in the way of us in our arrogance, right? In our ego that doesn't want to say, hey, buddy, you're struggling, you need some help. And so we get stuck in the I'm okay, or I'll be all right, or I'll figure it out. And meanwhile, our life passes us by while we're not asking for that help. So it's very inspiring to see human beings that are willing to be courageous enough to say, hey, can you help me? Or can you point me in that direction? That's why I was telling you today, when my dad asked me to help him with the computer, it put a big smile on my face because here's this man that growing up he was Superman to me, and he would always have the right answers for me. So for him to come to me going, hey, I don't really know how to do this.
I need your help.
Yeah,
son.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, But that is wonderful.
Beautiful. It's
that
a beautiful
he was
moment.
able to do that,
Yeah.
and you were able to accept that and be so excited that he has come to that point where I need some help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
I
it was
need
just
it.
and it was just a symbol of how much more help he might need a little bit down the road because
That's right.
because the world had hit a certain tipping point where he was starting to now lag behind. Not just in the area of technology, but in all areas, from understanding people to relationships to communicating. So it's needed right now to really stay focused on interpersonal growth.
You know, I think there was a book out called I'm Okay and You're Okay. And, you know, that was, I thought, really profound. But, you know, with times it has changed and it became I'm okay, you're not. And I thought to myself, you know, that's an attitude problem.
That's
and,
right.
you know, that attitude, that negative attitude, I think we have to move it back to we're all okay and we all have to move forward. And in sharing that and trying to do that, you know, we have to help each other. And that's what humanity is about.
That's right.
And some people are just not going to be that way. And I'm okay with that.
You have to be okay with that because that's their journey.
That's their journey.
And I'm not
But
in control of their journey.
I'm not taking their journey. I'm not going to follow their road. I'm going to just do something that is different. It might be outside the box. It might be following inside a conservative road. But I'm okay with that. But I'm just not going to let people suffer. That's as a humanitarian, as a physician, my goals have been, and all of you know, that we're going to take care of our seniors in Santa Clarita.
Well, as a humanitarian, what you can do, though, is that you can invite people, you can challenge people, you can encourage them, you can inspire them. You just can't make them. You can't force them. You can't control. You can just shine your own light, let everyone know how amazing the light feels as you're shining it, and encourage people to want to find their own light. That's it.
Yeah, to join you on that journey.
Yeah, just
absolutely.
if you're willing to join me and go for a ride, let's ride together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go see what's out there.
That's right. Let's discover.
Yes.
But that's what being a life coach is. I think we're all life coaches. But you've taken a lead, Alex, in doing this, and you've written a book. You know, you've moved forward. You're on the radio show. You're trying to assist this community to help others to make sure that they survive and do well as well. So
yeah, I hope so. The ones that are willing to listen, the ones that are willing to look at themselves, and the ones that are willing to grow and change, I'm here for them. If whenever they're willing to reach out and say, "Hey, Alex, I need help too."
How can we reach you?
661-505-5021. And you can always reach KHTS. I'm a huge supporter and fan, and you know, I'm ingrained all over this business. So just call in, and you can always get a hold of me through KHTS.
Once again, that's 661-505-5021. Alex Urbina, life coach. Appreciate your being on the show today. You know, we've just always have awesome discussions, and you know, for those willing to move forward, let's get them started.
I'm honored. Thanks for having me.
We are sponsored by Advanced Audiology and Comfort Keepers in Home Care. Listen to us next week on the Senior Hour. Now go and enhance your quality of life.
And Judy Penman will be on.